Okay, cool. Radio. So welcome to this What's an Amsa 2.0 event this year. Unfortunately, since the first What's an Amsa presentation that I gave this year, a lot has changed. But there are, thankfully, lots of opportunities to get involved next year. So I'll be going through a couple of the different avenues that AMSA has on offer across the organisation, from advocacy to events to projects. There's really, like, honestly something for everything and everyone, and multiple things for everyone as well, I think. So I'll run through that, and we've got a little bit of a presentation, but mostly it's really informal. Feel free to switch on your camera as well, so we can keep it chill. I think I am recording, so that's just so that we can share it later on, because I think a lot of people couldn't make it tonight. And we'll also be meeting some of the AMSA volunteers at Monash and at other unis to talk about their experiences as well. And Connor has some food, which is very exciting. Oh well, so I'm going to kick off now, and we'll let anyone who's joining still join. If you have any questions at any point in the presentation, feel free to chuck them in the chat. Otherwise, we'll be having like an informal Q&A at the end where you can ask any questions if you've got them. Okay. So what's an AMSA? Can you see the screen okay? Cool. Right, you go. There's a video, but I'm not going to torch you. It's real laggy, like Zoom vid. I think most of my tutors think that we can see the videos when they share it, but it usually chops out. So I'll share the slides later and you can have a little watch. So what is an AMSA? It stands for the Australian Medical Students Association, a group of 500 volunteers who live across Australia, representing 17,000 medical students. So we're a not-for-profit organisation that was founded in 1960 to bring medical students together and advocate for change. Today, we're the biggest student-run organisation in Australia, and we run the largest student events in the world. So this is a bit of a layout of the organisation. As you can see, there are lots of different areas to get involved. This is actually a bit of an old layout. There are a couple more different teams that you can get involved in. Particularly Indigenous Health has moved into a special interest group now, so that's really exciting for them. Right. Sophie, did you want to speak more broadly about AMSA, the national team, and AMSA in general? So Sophie is the incoming president for 2021, which is very exciting, and she's joined us from Sydney, I believe. So yeah, I'll hand over to Soph.
Hello, thank you so much for having me, Jazz, and everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Sophie. I'm the incoming president. As Jazz has written here, our executive applications have currently closed, but we got an enormous number of Monash applicants. So I'm very, very excited to see a beautiful executive with, I'm sure, very many Victorians next year. More broadly, we have honestly so many positions opening up in the coming weeks and months, genuinely like a few hundred roles. Our second wave will open up the teams that work quite closely with the executives, such as our engagement teams, with our advocacy communications, podcast, initiatives roles, roles across our sponsorship, including membership benefits, our publications and design teams, and also the Deputy Treasurer / Treasurer Committee, and the wonderful council convener and chair that bring National Council to life. More broadly, I think other people are speaking on projects and SIGs and whatnot, but that's pretty much the overall structure. Did you want me to talk about my thoughts / advice, or save that for questions?
If you have some brief advice, that's fine, and but we can save it to questions at the end as well. I don't mind.
No worries. I was just going to say, go for honestly anything you're even remotely interested in. Confidence is just as important as competence, and I would have gotten nowhere if I only applied for roles that I thought I was good enough for. So please go for anything that sparks your interest, and I'm sure there are so many of us who'd be more than happy to talk about like which roles might be best for you, Jazz and myself included. So yeah, that's my very quick little spiel.
Absolutely. And yeah, if you have any questions at all after this presentation, my inbox is always open, and there are plenty of people who you can reach out for advice. Cool. So there are heaps of positions up for grabs in the national team, but we also have some projects that we're involved in at Monash, and you can get involved in nationally with the coordination position. So to get involved in Vampire Cup, you can get into the Monash group. So we have a Facebook group, the 2021, which you can join, and the next year's AMSA rep will just like change it to 2021. So you can get in advance there. Apart from that, you can apply to coordinate the event nationally, or you can be a year level representative. So basically what that looks like is, sharing promotional material with your year level, hyping it up, and hopefully we'll be able to organise some group donations next year. Monash did an amazing job almost doubling our donations this year from last year, which is crazy considering there was a global pandemic. So let's keep going with that. But I'll hand over to Connor, who was actually involved in the national team this year.
Yeah, so hey everybody, my name's Connor. I'm in third year as well with Jasmine, and I'm happy you've all joined us on a Monday night to learn about everything you get involved in. So at least with my experience in AMSA, I didn't really do much in first year. I'm not sure what I was doing. I wasn't studying, but yeah, I started getting involved in AMSA in second year, and there are hundreds of incredible events, not hundreds, but there's many incredible events you can go to, like convention, GHC and things like that. But I was quite interested in the blood donation side. So I applied for Vampire Cup deputy convener, which I got. So I helped run the Vampire Cup this year, and we had over almost 10,000 donations, and that was peak COVID. So I think it's a really good way to get involved, at least Vampire Cup is. You can be year rep, as Jasmine said, but just apply for everything. I think Sophie might have made a website with all the call outs and things like that, but there's so many leadership roles, and it's never too late to get started. And it's a great way to keep yourself busy and to, I guess, have a positive impact outside of med school.
Yeah, and I think one of the good things about the projects is that they're not always throughout the year. So if you don't feel like you can commit to a role that's going to be full on 24/7, you can get involved. Vampire Cup's usually in May or April. So yeah, I guess after that, Connor, did you have much to do?
Yeah, I guess we had World Organ Donor Day, and we've soon got Bone Marrow Day as well coming up. But it's really flexible in terms of what your schedule is, and you can just do it in your free time and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely different roles have peaks around the year, and Vampire Cup is mostly the start of the year and not as much work now.
Cool. Okay, I thought I had to unmute myself, but I'd already done it. We'll head over to the next slide. So there are also some other projects across the organisation. We have Gender Equity, who run a mentoring advocacy program, AMSA Queer, who are the LGBTQIA+ network. They also have a Facebook group which you can join. We have Code Green, Crossing Borders, Sexual and Reproductive Health, and Healthy Communities. They'll have their call outs aren't open yet. They'll be happening towards the end of this month, with teams opening early next year. So if you're applying for positions at the moment and you miss out, there are other opportunities that you can apply for later. Otherwise, keep an eye out for these if you are keen on them. Jackie's involved in Healthy Communities, but I might let you talk about that when we head over to Global Health as well. So Global Health is a really big part of AMSA. They have several projects that we've got here, but they also have the special interest group, which are calling out at the moment. So in saying that, here are special interest groups. So special interest groups are basically committees that run different projects, different advocacy within a special interest. So we have Global Health, Rural Health, Medical Education, International Students Network, and AMSA Indigenous is a new SIG this year. If I ever say an acronym that doesn't make sense, just let me know in the chat and I will happily clear it up for you. So head over to Global Health, and Jackie's joined us, thankfully. She's a Monash volunteer as well and is involved heavily with Global Health.
Hey everyone. Yeah, so I'm involved with Global Health in a few ways at Monash. So I'm technically the Monash AMSA Global Health rep, as being the Ignite Vice Chair External. That's my role. And I'm also the National Coordinator of AMSA Healthy Communities, which is one of our projects. So yeah, as Jasmine mentioned, AMSA, I should also say I'm a 4th year student at Monash as well. AMSA Global Health is, one of our, it's a really, really massive special interest group, or SIG, with lots of facets, lots of components. And it's ultimately just a really wholesome family of people who really love public health, global health, and generally kind of making change and trying to tackling those big issues. So currently we have applications out for executive and management team. So the role that I did as chair of AMSA Healthy Communities is on management team. An executive is more like the chair of the whole SIG, and the vice chair external, like the core executive type roles. So all of those are really great if you've had a little bit of experience in AMSA or kind of similar subcommittees before, and you're looking to get involved with a really engaging, kind of interesting group of people to kind of upskill a little bit more from there. And then we'll have call outs for our very entry level junior roles at the start of next year as being part of the project subcommittees as well. So look out for them. So I'm just going to post in the chat our little promo for role applications. And yeah, I guess I could go into the detail of all the different roles, but you're probably best off just having a look at the call outs. But essentially there's so many things you can get involved in, from running a project to do with refugee rights or climate change or NCDs or sexual reproductive health, to running one of our kind of conferences or the podcast or the journal. So yeah, have a little bit of a browse, and you can ask me questions later as well.
Yeah, there's actually a crazy number of opportunities within Global Health at Monash and at AMSA. And as someone who isn't personally involved in Global Health as much, they certainly seem like a wonderful little family to join within AMSA. So yeah, I'm gonna head over to MedEd, and Anna's joined us as well. Anna, I forget which university you're from, so you'll have to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Anna and I'm a final year at the University of Melbourne. This year I was the chair of medical education, and I think I'll just give a broad overview of what our committee does, just in case no one, you guys don't know. So MedEd is split into 2 divisions. There's the resources side and the research side. For resources, it is further divided into 4 teams. So we have a group of volunteers working on making MCQs for a national question bank, a group of volunteers working on making fact sheets on common conditions and presentations, and another group working on making modules, which is AMSA Academy. And our newest team this year was a group of volunteers working on OSCEs. On the research side of things, we have a couple of student-led research projects that are ongoing, and we've also created a new team this year called Research Resources, and they're in charge of creating how-to guides on how to do research. Currently our call-outs are open for the executive team. So as you can see, we have a lot of positions available, and I'm really keen for people to apply for these positions. So don't feel that you don't have enough experience or you're lacking confidence in applying for them. I really encourage everyone to apply. And my email is always open if anyone wants to email me about more information about this, and if they have any queries about what I'm looking for for people applying to these positions. For the rest of our positions, our call-outs open next year, and they would be more entry-level team member positions for the various teams on the resources side of things. And also every year we start up some new research team projects, and we're always looking for students for them next year as well.
Amazing, thank you, Anna. Yeah, we'll head across. So if you have a passion for medical education, resources, that kind of thing, they have an amazing little site with MedEd as well. So even if you're not applying for a position, I'd recommend checking out the resources that they put together. It's really amazing what a group of students have done. So yeah, definitely sign up for that as well. And there's rural health, so this one's close to my heart. So basically advocating for rural origin students, rurally placed students, along with the communities that we serve. So we work with AMSA and other key stakeholders to advocate for support of the rural health workforce. I am the current Vice Chair External of AMSA Rural Health, and we're currently recruiting our executive committee. So that includes the VCE, which is me, the chair, the treasurer, the vice chair, internal, and yeah, that's the core. And the committee the call outs are open for the broader committee, but they'll close a little bit later. So this is me and my experience. It just got posted today. I applied for VCE after writing one of the policies that was involved under rural health last year. And that was my first involvement in AMSA. So I was pretty new to the organisation and I didn't expect to be chosen for the role. And then when I was chosen for the role, I didn't expect to be very good at it either. Yeah, pushed through that imposter syndrome. And yeah, so my first role in AMSA essentially, apart from policy, was an executive position within a special interest group. So definitely don't be afraid to take that leap. I was very nervous. I felt like I couldn't do it. There were so many different acronyms when I was first involved, but now I'm writing media releases and talking to the Rural Health Commissioner over text. So, you know, it's something that's really accessible, and there's plenty of opportunities to upskill. Cool. So AMSA Indigenous, we don't have any representatives from today, but they liaise with groups to promote awareness and a safe environment for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people within AMSA and also more broadly in the healthcare industry. And they also work with AIDA, which is another organisation representing Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander individuals. So they do a whole bunch of things across the organisation, and they also have identified and non-identified positions available. So if you're passionate about Indigenous health, there are positions that you can apply for even if you aren't yourself Indigenous, but there are some positions that are reserved for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander medical students. So take a look at their call-outs, and yeah, it's an amazing opportunity. I've worked with them this year on the In My Blood It Runs campaign and also for policy review, and it is a committee with a lot of potential, and I'm very excited to see where they go in the future as well. So AMSA advocacy is another area you can get involved in. Policy is something that Monash is very good at applying for and getting into. So if you didn't know, we represented about a third of the policy applications this round of council, which is insane. And we also represent 43, I think, % of the successful authors. So not only do we apply lots, we're particularly good at our applications and writing policy. So you definitely will be well supported as a policy author within the Monash community. And they basically inform AMSA's stance on numerous issues. So policies are what the medical students believe, and then the advocacy is acting upon that and making change. So authors write a policy, goes to a think tank, which is within our local policy review, goes into post review, then goes to council, and then it turns into advocacy. It's very exciting, and I've got the website here as well, which lists all the policies. There's lots, and yeah, if you're interested at all in policy, let me know. We currently have a policy review team working on reading through the 6 policies that we have going to council. Angela's here, she's involved. I don't know if anyone else is. I think Nanditha I saw was in the list of people. Just head off. Jade is here as well. It's a super cool new initiative that a couple of universities have tried with the COVID situation, and it's been going pretty well. We had 36 applications at Monash and 12 people were successful. So yeah, congrats to the people who are involved, and stay tuned for the think tanks. Definitely come along, share your perspective. It's a really good introduction to policy, and we'll be sharing more information about that shortly on the AMSA at Monash page. There's a $20 voucher for every event as well, so I'll throw that in there. Then there's council, which is a meeting of medical students to hear the student voice and pass policies. The 3 this year have unfortunately been online for me, because usually I get free flights to go, but fortunately for you, they've been online and they are free. So if you're unsure about council and want to dip your toes in a little bit, you can sign up for free. You can join 1 or 2 sessions if you like. You know, if you're particularly interested in vaccinations and the vaccination policy, you can tune in just for that session, or you can tune in for the whole weekend. That'll be coming up on the 26th and 27th of September. It's online, it's free. Get around that. Also stay tuned for our Monash stroke policy call-outs. And then there's AMSA events, which is very exciting as well. And hopefully these can go ahead next year. Unfortunately, a lot of events have had to adapt to the online environment, but they have been amazing nonetheless. Unfortunately, it just means we can't get catch up in person and party as we normally would. So there's the National Leadership Development Seminar, which usually happens in May in Canberra. It was moved a bit later this year and online. We have National Convention and the Global Health Conference. Convention was my first event that I went to apart from council. It was very exciting. I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected to, and I'd recommend you looking into that. So on that note, National Convention, it's in Adelaide next year. You might have seen they did their launch over the weekend. It's now in its 62nd year, and it's the largest student-run conference. Brings together 1,000 medical students. You get inspired through the academics. You learn new skills in breakouts and workshops, and you also have a lot of fun. The socials are amazing, the academics are amazing, and yeah, it's just a really good multifaceted week. You get really exhausted, potentially get a bit of conventionitis, but I found it amazing, and I made a new little family with the convention delegation down here. So you can check out the new promo video for Adelaide next year in the link, and yeah, there's the dates. So put those in your calendar in advance, save up a little bit of dollars, and get keen to head with Monash or whatever university you're calling from for that. There's Global Health Conference, which is unfortunately cancelled this year, was meant to go ahead in the Gold Coast. And that's, again, another world-class academic event with socials as well. They're very focused on global health, as it says in the name, and will be happening in Perth next year. So stay tuned for more information about that. And then there's the National Leadership Development Seminar. I think, is Marie here? Did you want to chat about NLDS?
Yep. Hang on. Yep, I'll be happy to chat about NLDS. So hi, I'm Marie. I'm one of the co-conveners for NLDS this year. As you most of you probably have known, that NLDS is normally an in-person event held in Canberra annually, but this year we moved it to online, and this occurred the week before, and actually went really well. We're really happy with how it went. In terms of how you guys can get involved, so convener applications have just closed, I believe, but there's still lots of ways to get involved, and I'm pretty biased. I think it's the best event in AMSA. I love it. It allows you to meet up with a lot of people who are like-minded and passionate about different things. What you guys can do if you're interested, because the next year's convener will be chosen at some point soon. The call outs for the committee members should be opening up within the next few weeks or so, I'm assuming. So please keep your eyes peeled out for that. So usually there's a couple of positions available, which would include treasurer, sponsorship, social engagement, pubs promo, and academic. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And otherwise, if you don't join in the committee, please join next year as a delegate. So unsure whether it will go ahead as an in-person or online event, just because right now it's still a bit confusing. But regardless, I think it's a really great opportunity, and I think most people who attend tend to have quite a good experience. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions at the end.
Thank you, Marie. I went to NLDS this year, and it was an amazing event. They adapted it online really, really well, and I think we had a lot of Monash delegates as well, which was really exciting. You can see a nice, cute screenshot of everyone there. It was an amazing weekend. Cool. And then the next one is RHS. or the Rural Health Summit. That's also happening online this year. But next year it'll be happening in Tasmania or the Northern Territory. They're currently calling out for conveners for this event. It's in Tasmania or NT, but it's open to anyone who wants to convene it. So if you're keen on organising an event in Tasmania or the Northern Territory, you can apply. And yeah, essentially it's a really hands-on, well, usually a really hands-on weekend immersed in rural health. I've heard some amazing things about RHS. I'm a little bit biased because rural health is my favourite, but yes, I'm very muchly looking forward to what the team has put together this year, and I'm sure it will be an amazing week next year as well. Cool. So that brings us to the end of the specific opportunities that I had to talk about. But what next is the big question. You know, we've had a bit of a chat about what's available, probably a little bit overwhelmed because there's so many different possibilities. So I really recommend joining the AMSA at Monash Facebook group. It's where we share the different opportunities. You can save posts, to download things, keep track of all the things you're interested in. If you're not sure what you want to do, but you have like some interest in some different areas, you can always shoot me a message on Facebook and go, look, you know, I'm kind of keen to get a bit more involved in, you know, managing money for events or something like that. Or I'm interested in a few of these different things, and I'm happy to line you up with the different application processes as well. Know AMSA quite well, so I'm very, very happy to help you out there if you're all a little bit confused. There's also relevant Facebook groups which you can join, the Monash Vampire Cup page, which we mentioned. I think someone's already requested to join, which is fantastic. There's the AMSA Queer Network, there's the International Students Network, and the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Medical Students Network. I forgot to mention AMSA International Students Network will be doing call outs as well. They're another special interest group. They just haven't opened them yet, so stay tuned. Apart from that, they've done an amazing job this year putting together a website to keep track of all the amazing opportunities. It says the timelines for all of the different positions, special interest groups. So I'd recommend following that link that's at the bottom of the slide, but I think Sophie's also sent it in the chat. So definitely recommend getting along to that. And it also has a really good flow chart of the organisation detailing all the different positions. It's like a huge flow chart, and kudos to anyone who put that together, but it explains the organisation really well. With that though, I think that's the last slide. So we might hand over to you guys if you have any questions. If you don't have any questions, that's okay. But yeah, does anyone have anything to ask our amazing volunteers about getting involved in AMSA or AMSA in general?
Jasmine, just a quick question. In terms of AMSA events and stuff, how much would you usually need to set aside to go to an event?
That really depends. Does someone I've only been to convention and council. So council registration usually costs about $50 a day. And then there's also accommodation as well, which is similarly priced. So I think it's $50 a night usually, because they get like a bulk accommodation deal with the hostels. So council's not all that expensive, particularly if it's held where you live, in the city that you live. But convention is a little bit more expensive, particularly if you're paying for accommodation. So last year to go to convention, it cost me about $1,000, including the event registration and the accommodation. But that was a week. It included food, accommodation, transport to everything, some really amazing social events. So it's pretty much like very inclusive of like all the different costs within that week. So it's not cheap, definitely, but it's also affordable in the scheme of things. Does anyone want to add costs for some of the other events?
GHC kind of differs year to year. The Rego is usually, well, in 2019 for context, it was $350. And next year it might be a bit higher, just by virtue of it being in Perth and it being a bit more expensive to run in Perth. And then there would also be potentially flights if we were still able to fly. NLDS is usually a 600 per person event with some bursaries provided. And RHS is a very, very affordable event. Like, we've had years run where RHS is like $30 for students to attend. It can be super, super, super affordable. I'd also say that things like council, if you have a leadership role or if you're somewhat involved in council, like you're presenting what your project has been doing, you get that day subsidised. So we try and make it as equitable as possible for our volunteers, and so that if you are a volunteer, there shouldn't be a financial burden to being a volunteer.
Yeah, and on the note of council, you get a free day for the day you're presenting your policy. So if you're a policy author, you get kind of like $50 off. I did mention in the chat, we have $200 bursaries usually from UMIS for NLDS. And we also have a small council subsidy program because we don't have a junior Monash AMSA rep anymore. I asked to shift that money to council subsidies, so that's available for people to apply for. So there's different opportunities to get things assisted with. Cool. Any other questions at all from anyone? We're either overwhelmed or everyone's done a really good job summing up their experiences. But I think in general, what everyone's kind of shared tonight is that there is a lot to be involved in. And that means that, yeah, it seems a bit overwhelming at the start, but it means that absolutely there's going to be something in AMSA for you. So I'd recommend taking a little look at that website, shooting relevant people messages, emails, that kind of thing. Don't be afraid to reach out. It excites us when people are excited about AMSA. So show that excitement, get around it. If you need any help reading applications, any tips for interviews, that kind of thing, more than happy to help. And I'm sure, as Anna said, she was happy to be contacted. Numerous special interest groups, previous role holders are happy to be contacted if you want to hear a bit more about what's involved. Do any of the volunteers have anything to add before we sign off for tonight?
I've just also put my email in the chat, so very happy for anyone to email me. Similarly, if you're interested in global health at all, I'm happy to help you out, like deciding what position you should apply for and that type of thing as well.
Yeah, I'm also more than happy for anyone to contact me. It's my job, and I would absolutely love to hear from you. So please email me, like phone me, what is that? Text me, whatever. If you're not even sure where in AMSA and you're just a bit lost by the whole thing, that's also fine. We can play a bit of a guessing game and try and find an avenue that works for you. Everyone in AMSA is just a student, so please feel free to contact any of them and they will be more than happy to talk to you.
Too easy. I think we need like a BuzzFeed quiz. So we'll get on to that soon. But thank you all for coming tonight. I'll stop the recording and